Good evening and welcome to the Formula Racing League. It's time for some F2 action. We're at the Shanghai International Circuit in China, round 8 of the championship. So what sessions are in store? As you can see on the loading screen, one-shot qualifying is about to commence. All 17 drivers will be setting their times exactly the same time as each other. Then we go on to a 16-lap feature race, followed by a 12-lap sprint to wrap up tonight's action. So whilst we're waiting for the drivers to make their way out onto the racetrack, just a quick rundown on the standings. Just waiting on the standings to come up. Just bear with us one moment. You can see that Don Argent has opened up a 99-point lead over Green Pies in second place. 294 that Argent has got to Pies' 195. And then we go all the way to Vintage in third. Who's on 187, I think, 187 points or something like that. We'll come to that in a moment. In the meantime, one-shot qualifying is underway. We'll go to Ramsel actually, because he's been in good performance, showing some good pace in the high tech. So he makes his way through turn 3 and now 4. Now through the kink of 5. Breaks in a straight line before he gets the car turn in for 6. Now through the sweeping left and right of 7 and 8. Russell goes past turn 10, uses the outside curb, and now he approaches turn 11. Uses all the curb. And now he'll be making his way down past the banking of 13 and onto the back straight. He's currently ahead of everyone at the moment. So he brakes for turn 14 now. Very nice nailing the apex there. He'll gain some time from doing that. So through the last turn of 16, over the line, and Ramsel will go to pole position. He does it by a 10th of a second. Very well done to him. So the first points go to the high-tech driver and takes his points tally to 96. So Ramsel is on pole position with Green Pie second, ahead of Podge and Rosie, who line up on row 2. Then we've got Hartnell and Winfield next up. Dust and Pimis are on row 4, followed by Cookie and Wild Dog on the 5th row. Red Devil and Malky are next, and it's Scouse Cookie, the last driver who has set a time, with Therese next behind him on row 7. Scott and Swanshanks make up the 8th row, with Chris right at the back in 17th position. We'll be right back for the first race of the evening. The feature race is coming up. So the formation that will get underway shortly, giving drivers a chance to choose their tyre strategies. The fuel is automatically set equally between the F2 drivers, in F2 anyway. So who is starting on what here? So, only 2 drivers starting on the mediums. They are Rosie and Dus. The rest are on softs. So going back to what I was saying about the championship earlier, Arjun has a 99-point lead over Green Pies, which is more than a full round of points. Because in the sprint races, 40 points for a race victory in the feature and 30 points for a sprint race victory. There are also points for the fastest lap and pole position, which makes up a maximum of 78 that a driver could score. So Vintage is in 3rd place on 191, 4 points behind Green Pies, with Winfield 4th on 180 and Swanshanks in 5th on 175, and it's Rosie in 6th on 170. So can Remsel pick up another victory? He's already picked up 2 wins this season so far. He won the sprint race in Mexico and the feature race at Silverstone last week, despite the timing issues. If he can get off the line well here tonight, it'd be a good start, and maybe it could ignite his championship charge, although even with the pole position points, he's still 199 or 198 points behind. So he's got a lot of catching up to do, with there being only 5 rounds left, including this one. After China, we go to Portimao, and then should the circuit be released in time, we'll be going to Imola. Round 11 has still yet to be confirmed, and then the final round, which will be on the 3rd of November, is set to be on the Marina Bay Street circuit in Singapore. So the drivers are coming back onto the grid now. Runsel's a long way ahead of the field, actually. And then we've got Green Pies, who will be right behind. So 17 on the grid for this evening. Green Pies will be slotting into his grid spot now. And then everyone is ready to go for this Chinese feature race in F2. Here we go then, the drivers await for the lights. When they extinguish, we'll be racing for the first time tonight here in China. It's lights out and away we go for the feature race. Ramsell gets off the line very, very well. Green Pies tucks in behind in 2nd place, and we've got Podge, who's in 3rd, right behind him. No drama so far from the drivers. Rosie fancying a go on the Carlin there, but she's gone for a spin in the UI Virtuosi. There's plenty of cars off this time through turn 2. So Rosie falls to the back almost. So she's got herself with a lot to do from there. We did see her dams go off at turn 2, but it seems as though the drivers have behaved themselves pretty much through those first few corners. So Ramsell leads with Green Pies 2nd, then it's Podge in 3rd, who's been in better form recently. Then it's Winfield, Pimis, Terades, Wild Dog, Hartnell, Dus, and Scouse Cookie, your top 10 so far. So there's Green Pies in 2nd position. There will be no DRS for the first 2 laps of the race. Green Pies getting the power down too early there. So he falls crucially further behind the high tech. And now the drivers make their way down this long back straight. So Green Pies will be waiting for his opportunity. I don't expect any drivers to be ducking into the pits for repairs. And Winfield going too deep there into turn 14, trying to get past. He got an awful amount of wheel spin and nearly took out Pimis. So Pimis leaves Winfield room to get back on the inside. And now the drivers complete the first lap. And they're going to go 3 wide before they get to turn 1. Pimis is through, but he's always got the Cheroos of Terades going right round the outside of him. And Pimis has to accept defeat, but he's going to have the inside line for turn 2. Winfield's dropped down to 6th place, and now he's got Wild Dog right on his tail. Bit of contact made, but only a little bit. Well, I was going to say the pit stop window opens on lap 3. That's when you can come in and make your mandatory pit stop. You can't make your mandatory pit stop right this second. And Malky has dropped down the order to 17th position in the ART. So Ramsell doing very, very well so far. Green Price is still within a second of him, so he'll be able to use the DRS when it does eventually be enabled at the end of this lap. There are 2 DRS zones, one on the back straight that the drivers are going through now. The other is on the pit straight. And Pimis there still hassling with the Cheroos of Terades as they go into turn 14, the hairpin. And you can see a battle further behind. There's Cookie and Dust fighting over 9th position. Now the Dust is one of 2 drivers to start the race on the medium compound. His teammate Rosie is also the other to have started on the mediums. So Ramsell still out in front. And there's Green Pies behind, and we've got Podge and Terades. I think Podge is going to be under threat with DRS, to be quite honest with you. We want to go back to the lead here because Green Pies has clawed back some of the gap on Ramsell, and he might get him on the back straight the next time they get round. There's a slight glitch there. Swanshanks has gone for a spin in the Cheroos. He's off track, and he's just been given a time penalty. Damaged front wing as well, but at least he can now take his mandatory pit stop. So Ramsell and Green Pies head onto the back straight. Green Pies, I don't think he's going to be close enough to have a go here, to be quite honest. Rear wing open. Is there going to be a change of position when they get to the corner? No change. And you can see a potential change for leaders. Green Pies and Ramsell make contact there through 1. Green Pies skev the inside line into 2, and that's going to be him taking the lead from the high-tech of Ramsell. And Ramsell's fighting back though. Terades in 3rd position, who's got ahead of Podge. So a couple of position changes on this lap so far. Ramsell touching the curb there, which sees the car unstabilise. And Green Pies has the chance to pull away. But Ramsell will be back for more. And Swanshank's in the pits. Goes on to a set of mediums. You've got to use both dry compounds in a feature race, providing it's dry, of course. Swanshanks is a long way behind in 17th. There's a yellow flag, and it's Pimis who's dropped down the order. He doesn't seem to have damage. But we want to go back to the lead bit because Ramsell is closed back in on Green Pies as they get to turn 14. Here we go. Rosie moves in front of Pimis as well for 10th place. Now, can Ramsell get in front of the dams before they get to turn 1 here? I don't think he will do. So through turn 3 and 4. And Green Pies is able to pull away, so it's going to come down to the pit stops, possibly. So Race is in 3rd place, 5 seconds off Ramsell, and nearly 6 seconds off the lead. Ramsell right behind Green Pies. Now Ramsell's got a great chance here now to move back into the lead here, into the slipstream. DRS open. Goes to the outside. And he's past the dams, is he? Yes, he is. Contact made. This may prompt Green Pies into the pits, unless Ramsell decides otherwise. No, they're both pitting in. So they're both pitting in this lap. And both slow down in time. Trade's also in from 3rd place. So Podge will lead this race as we watch Cookie go past Hartnell for 3rd place into turn 1. Green Pies will rejoin behind Ramsell still. So Ramsell rejoins in 9th position. So Podge is your new race leader as Hartnell fends off Rosie behind, but Dust is also there. And Dust is able to get back through on Rosie here. Now remember, Dust and Rosie have started the race on the medium, so they'll be able to go longer before they switch over onto the soft compound. And Podge has got some clear track in front of him, and he's not dicing with anyone at the moment either, so this could well be him having the advantage here as someone's gone off in sector 3. And it's Winfield. So Winfield, who was in 2nd position, has just had a moment, has rejoined behind Rosie in 6th position. Just one driver with a time penalty so far, that's Swanshanks, who's right at the back. He may dispute that afterwards, though. So Doss thinks about a move on Hartnell. Now, if you're Primo, what do you do? Because Cookie and Winfield... And Winfield doesn't realise that his teammate's in as well, so he's going to suffer horribly. Yeah, he's going to suffer horribly as Winfield. After that spin, he should have just stayed out another lap, and he wouldn't have lost as much time. Here's Ramsell. Green Pies, though, fighting what is effectively for the race lead. Green Pies to the outside. Nearly contact made, but Green Pies is through as they got to the corner. Ramsell looking to fight back. This won't be the last of these two fighting in this race, that's for sure. So we're on lap 7. The only drivers that haven't pitted in this race are those in the top 3. Podge is still leading. He's still on the soft compound. Rosie and Dust on the mediums are next, and then it's Green Pies and Ramsell that you can see in your picture. Green Pies runs wide through 8 there. He missed the apex completely. Ramsell able to close back in. And Scouscookie becomes the second driver in this race to receive a time penalty. No drivers out of the race so far, which is good. And Ramsell getting a better line coming out of turn 12, and he's going to go past at the banking to take back effectively the race lead. But Green Pies is going to fight back here because he's going to have the slipstream, but I don't think he'll have the DRS because Ramsell was behind him at the detection point. Having said that, Green Pies is still going to carry on. He won't get the move done down into turn 14. There's a yellow flag, and it looks like Swanshanks is off the track in the Chevreuse that's continued, and it looks like Podge has just come into the pits. Scott has been penalised for track limits as well, so he gets 3 seconds, which will be added to his race time. And Ramsell and Green Pies continue to go battle. We'll go into combat. Terrades goes past Podge. What about Wild Dog? I think Wild Dog will get through as well here. And Swanshanks continues to have his own spins. So Rosie leads the race then, ahead of Dust. And then we can see Green Pies and Ramsell fighting over third place on the road. Contact made there from Green Pies. We won't want to be making too much contact like that. So Green Pies right behind Ramsell. He will have the DRS on the back straight. So Green Pies is going to have the DRS here. Rear wing open. Now Ramsell needs to be careful. Do not go direction more than once. The map, so the game was glitching for a moment, so it was hard to tell whether he was zigzagging or not. These two carry on their way. Green Pies will have DRS on the start-finish straight, which he opens now. So down to turn 1, we are past half race distance. And it's Rosie who continues to lead as Green Pies thinking about a move. You can't make the move from there, Green Pies. And he's damaged his front wing, and he's reset to the track as well. That was far too ambitious there from Green Pies. Ramsell had every right to turn in on him there. Green Pies was not going to pass him from that far back. And he's damaged his front wing. I don't know whether he wants to come into the pits and get it changed because it's quite a lengthy pit stop. And Ramsell had a spin as well on the exit of 6. So all of that is going to play into the hands of those behind as we watch Dustin Rosie swap positions. So the pair make their way through. Doubt either of them will be pitting in this lap, but we'll see. So Rosie into the slipstream. She goes to the left. Dust stays over to the right. He doesn't fight her. Now they don't want to be swapping positions all the time because otherwise they'll lose further ground behind those who have already pitted. So Rosie comes in. Dust decides to remain out there. Now, does Rosie get the car so down in time to the 60 km speed limit? Yes, she does. So Ramsell will be coming through to go ahead. Where's Rosie going to rejoin, though? She stops now. Soft tyres going on the Virtuosi. And out she goes. So Pimis will go through. Podge will go through. No doubt about that. Crookie will go past. I think Hartnell will go through on the UNI Virtuosi as well, will he? No, he won't, because Rosie got out ahead of him. So Rosie rejoins in 9th place on the road, but she's on better tyres than those ahead of her. So there is Dost, who's gone through turn 8. He's got track position at the moment, but he will need to be pitted in before this race is over. If a safety car was to come out now, that would play into his hands. The whole field is still running at the moment, though, so it's doubtful that that will happen. And Argent just coming and saying, let's go Ramsell. It'd be interesting to see if Rosie can still get a podium. That's another thing, because Argent isn't around tonight, which is rather surprising. Because he is the championship leader. Having said that, he has got a 99-point lead at the top of the championship race. And Dust carries on for another lap. Chris becomes the 4th driver in this race to receive a time penalty. And Green Pies comes in to get that front wing replaced. And he's going to fall out of the top 10, I would imagine. So that's his loss there. Rosie gets past Cookie, though, on the exit of 14 and 15. She moves up to what will be 7th place now, because Green Pies is in the pits. But the Prima of Cookie's fighting back. He won't make the move from there. And Scott going toe-to-toe with Chris. He does not get the move done there. And Green Pies will fall behind Winfield and Scouse Cookie in 15th position. So Doss 10 seconds out in the lead over Ramsell. I'd imagine he will be going into the pits at the end of this lap, or will he decide to stay out there for another lap? If I was him, I'd come into the pits now. And I would expect him to get out behind Jay Hartnell in 9th place. So the time comes for the last driver to come in for a pit stop. So Ramsell will take back the lead. Serrate will go up to 2nd. It will be Wild Dog up to 3rd. Pimis and Podge will move up, as well as Rosie. So Rosie goes through, as does Cookie. What about Jay Hartnell? Does he get through as well? The answer is no, he doesn't. So that's one less car for Dust to get past, actually. And with on better tyres, he should be able to pull away. So 5 laps to the end now. With the fuel burning off, Green Pies moves in front of Winfield for 13th place. So we'll go back to Rosie, she's just a couple of positions ahead of her teammate. And now she's going after Podge, who is less than a second ahead of her now. You can clearly see. So Rosie should get to within DRS range to have a go on the Carlin once they go down that back straight. Sector 3, who has gone off? Who's had a moment there? Oh, it's Wild Dog. So Wild Dog's had a spin, and that's allowed Podge and Rosie up to 4th and 5th. He was running in 3rd place, so Pimis is up into the podium positions. That's really bad news there for Wild Dog. A costly error has cost him dear. He really didn't need that. He really needed a good result this evening. been spinning around on too many occasions, whether it's in F2 or in other races that we've seen from him. Rosie right behind Podge here. She'll use the DRS and she should go past him here. So Podge doesn't fight it. Rosie is through up to 4th place now. Next driver ahead is Pimis, who is 5 seconds on the road, but Rosie goes for a spin, does she? There's contact made between herself and that's Wild Dog who's got through. Incredible. How did Wild Dog get back through? He's just been penalised for track limits, actually. So that could be something for the stewards later. The Wild Dog's back through into 4th place, but there's no way he'll keep that position. Podge has got through on Rosie as well. I think there was definitely contact made, actually. But the race carries on as it is. There's Dust in 8th place behind the Prema of Cookie. Rosie fighting back on Podge once more. Does she do it through 9? She does do it through 9 by the looks of it. Podge runs out wide. And Rosie's still not ahead. But she needs to watch the Prema of Cookie and her teammate Dust, who is looming in behind. So Podge is not going to have the DRS this time on this back straight. Cookie gets out of shape slightly, and that's going to allow Dust to get into the slipstream and have a go. Malky's off the track at turn 9, but it's continued. Dust making his way past the Prema, and that puts him up to 7th position. So Cookie in 8th place and on reverse grid pole for the sprints later on. 3 laps to go then. Says Ramsell, 7.5 seconds out in the lead. And Green Pies is just moving in front of his Dams teammate, Red Devil, to go up into 10th position. 2 positions away from reverse grid pole. He's 13 seconds behind Jay Harnell. There's no way he'll make up that time in the remaining laps. So here's Rosie behind Podge once more. She goes to the outside through 9. Podge holds her out to the right hand side. Rosie gets out of shape, goes off track. She needs to be careful because she's got the other UNI virtuosi of Dust right behind her now. So Rosie does not want to be taking any unnecessary risks here. With her in 6th place, she'll start 3rd on the grid for the sprint. So Rosie behind Podge as they come towards turn 14. But here's Dust going to the inside. Rosie doesn't fight it, and Dust gets through into 6th place. And now Cookie fancies a go on Rosie. Has to wait behind again. He might get her on the pit straight. He's into the slipstream. He won't get through round the outside, I doubt. Maybe to do a slight switch back here. Goes to the inside. Now Cookie's in 8th place right now. So Dust, who's in 6th place. And Wild Dog's pulled out that 3-second margin actually on Podge. So Dust behind Podge as they both head through. Turn 8. Can he do what his teammate Rosie couldn't do a lap or so ago? And Podge now gets a time penalty for track limits. He didn't need that at all. So as it stands, he's going to lose 3 positions. And Dust goes to the inside. Contact made between the 2 drivers. Podge stays ahead, which allows Wild Dog to pull further clear. Scott has fallen down the order. He's had a spin on the exit of turn 13, but will continue. Here we go for the last lap then. Dust to the outside. It should have gone to the inside, to be fair. Here we go, look, to the outside he goes. Podge leaves him enough space. Dust will have the inside line. Podge shuts the door on him though. That's fine driving between the 2. So Dust will be wanting to go for a move here. Contact made between Dust and Podge. So Podge will be falling down to 8th position, but at least he'll be on reverse grid pole for later on. We'll go back to the leaders. Ramsell has got 3 more corners to get through, and it'll be another F2 victory in the FRL for him. We'll go to the battle between Podge, Dust, Rosie and Cookie in a moment. But here's Ramsell, who gets through the hairpin of 14, past the kink of 15. Just 1 left-hander to get through now. Ramsell, from reverse grid, from pole position earlier on, is going to zigzag his way over the line for win number 3 in F2 in FRL. He takes the feature race victory here in China. Terades will come through to finish in a fine 2nd place. Very well done to him. And then we've got Pimis on the podium for Campos. A fine effort from him as well. So I have to say, the top 3 on the podium deserved that. It has to be said. Wild Dog will come home 4th for Carlin. And we go back to the battle between Podge, Rosie and Dust. Podge will drop back with his penalty. Rosie goes to 5th, Dust 7th, Cookie 8th. Rosie 5th, Dust 6th, Cookie 7th, Podge 8th. Hartnell will be 9th. Green Pies only in 10th place. I'll be disappointed with that. And just weaves his way over the line. There's Devil. He will be in 11th position. Chris will fall behind Winfield. And then it's Scouse, Cookie and Scott. And Swanshanks will fall behind Malky. So all 17 drivers making it to the end of the feature race. So Ramsell wins out in the end. So it's your race to solve then. Ramsell wins ahead of Terades in 2nd, then it's Pimis and Wild Dog next up. Rosie and Dust finish 5th and 6th ahead of Cookie and Podge, who will start the race on reverse grid pole. Hartnell was 9th and Green Pies in 10th, who also set the fastest up of the race, so that's 2 more points going to him. Red Devil was 11th, followed by Winfield and Chris, Scouse, Cookie and Scott. Malky and Swanshanks make up the rest of the finishers. No retirements in that race, which is very, very good to see. I have to say, Terades coming through from 14th to 2nd is an excellent drive in an F2 race of 50%, in 16 laps. We've still got the sprint coming up in a moment. Podge will be on reverse grid pole alongside Cookie. We'll be right back in a moment or two. So we wait for the beginning of the race, the final race of tonight. It'll be a 12-lap sprint, no mandatory pit stop involved, so it's pretty much just lights out to the flag. So no surprise to see everyone all starting on the mediums. So Podge is on reverse grid pole ahead of Cookie, with Dust and Rosie next up. Then it's Wild Dog and Pimus to raid 7th, and then the feature race winner of Ramsell in 8th. Jay Hartnell in 9th had a Green Pies, and it's Red Devil, Winfield, Chris, Scouse Cookie, Scott, Malky, and Swanshanks making up the grid. Well, all 17 made it to the end of the feature race. Can all of them make it to the end of the sprint? We'll find out in the next 12 laps. So Podge will be hoping to make no mistakes, no time penalties in this race. I'm pretty sure that will be the target for him. It'll be interesting to see how Ramsell and Green Pies do. Can they make their way through the field and come back to win? Well, Ramsell's victory would have given him 40 points. So to go with the pole position points he got earlier on, that takes his total to 136. Rosie would have scored points. Swanshanks wouldn't have done because he ended up 17th in the race. You don't get points for finishing 17th. So you have to say, whilst Arjun may be running away with it, the battle for second place is very much hotting up. Because Rosie, by finishing 5th, should have got 18 points for that, which puts her on 188. Swanshanks will remain 175. Winfield, who finished 12th, will have got... How many points would it have got? I think he would have got 4 points for it, Winfield. So that puts his total to 184. Vintage, who's not racing tonight, will remain on 191, and Green Pies, who finished 10th, will have taken his total to 205 points for him. So all 17 drivers on the grid then. We're ready to go for the second race of the evening. Podge on reverse grid pole, Crookie on the right. Who's going to lead into turn 1 first? It's the lights out, and we're on the way for the sprint race. Podge gets off the line, okay, and he leads ahead of Cookie. And then we've got the UNI virtuosi of Dust, who is in 3rd place. Right round the outside he goes as they head through turns 1 and 2. Eat My Dust will go to the outside of the Prema. And can he make a lunge into turn 2? He can. He's going to go side by side still with the Prema. Coming out of 3 and now 4. And he's got himself up into 2nd position. So Dust gets ahead of the Prema, but the Prema's still going side by side. It looks like Scouse Cookie has spun, as has Serades. So not a good start for both drivers. And look at Rosie's having to fend off the Campos of Pimus and the Dams of Green Pies. I'll tell you one driver who's flying. It's Ramsell. From 8th to 4th, he has done so far. So excellent job from him. And as we watch Green Pies tussle with Pimus and Rosie as they go through turn 8. Rosie nearly losing it as she clipped the curb a little bit. Pimus to the inside. Rosie is still in front. And Swanshanks has been given a time penalty already. So he's got a lot of work to do. As Green Pies moves ahead of Pimus into 6th place. So the leaders will be coming through the back straight now. And someone's gone round in sector 3. That's Malky in the ART, who has continued. And Ramsell now ahead of Cookie for 3rd place. So Ramsell continuing his charge. Goes in way too deep there into 14 though. And that's going to allow Cookie back through. So the drivers come around to complete lap 1, with Podge still in the lead. But how long will he remain there for? We can see Ramsell going side by side with Cookie on the pit straight, riding on board with the high-tech as they go into turn 1. And Cookie concedes the position. No contact was made between the two drivers. Rosie fancying to go right round the outside of the Prema. Then she'll have the inside line. Oh, I think Cookie needed to give her more space there. Cookie didn't see her in time, unfortunately. And Green Pies takes advantage of Rosie's error and Pumice gets through. So Rosie's had a bad few corners there. Chris is in the pits for a new front wing. So that's his race effectively over unless we do get a safety car. Green Pies going side by side with Cookie on the exit of 6 here. Does he get through into 7? The answer is yes, he does. So Green Pies through and up into 4th position behind Ramsell, who's closing in on the top 2 as Dust lines up Podge for the race lead. Chris heading back out on circuit on a set of soft tyres. And now the drivers will head down the back straight. Just look to see if there's any other battles going on as Swanshanks line up Winfield for 12th place. And Cookie's got back ahead of Green Pies as well, so... Or so he thought, but he's got him way too deep at turn 14. And now he's falling back behind the dams. So DRS will be enabled now. Podge with a new fastest out, albeit temporarily, because Ramsell's got that. So through turns 1 and 2 they go. How long before Ramsell gets in front of these guys? So, oh, that's Dust off. He's caught the curb on the exit of turn 13. He's off onto the grass. Green Pies has been penalised for track limits as well. I don't know whether he had to take evasive action to avoid him. But Dust is falling down the yard. That's a really bad mistake by him. And Scouse Cookie should go past here as well. So Dust way down the field to 14th, and that promotes Ramsell to 2nd. Who's going to have DRS on the pit straight. Hartnell and Wild Dog going side by side on the pit straight. Hartnell needs to make sure he stays within the track limits. And so he'll get through on Wild Dog on this occasion. So Hartnell's through. Way too deep into turn 1 though. He should have been back on the racing line there. He was more than a car's length ahead. Winfield also ahead of Swanshanks. So that's him up into 10th. And Chris has gone round in the MP Motorsport car. So Podge going too deep there. Ramsell will pull alongside, and this is going to be a change of leadership here, I think. Well, Podge is still hanging in there. And it looks like someone's gone for a spin. It's Green Pies. So Green Pies is next to go for a spin. He's gone way off there at turn 9. And he's fallen behind Scouse Cookie in 15th. Chris is coming back into the pits, and I think this time it's going to be a retirement for him. So Ramsell's still behind Podge. Podge doing very well to hold him off here as Cookie makes a move on Rosie for 4th position. Rosie goes in too deep, as does Cookie, to be fair. And Cookie is able to get the move done on the UNI Virtuosi and moves up a position. Now Ramsell right behind the Carlin of Podge. I think that's Chris, who's just come out of the pits, actually. And so Ramsell gets past. Green Pie's in the pits. He's crashed in the pit lane, actually. And that's brought out the safety car. I don't know whether he's done that by error or whether he's done that on purpose. I don't think he probably didn't do it on purpose, but that's such a needless thing to do. And it's brought out the safety car. So that will bring the field right back together then. Chris has just been allowed through there by the leaders. So at least he'll get back on the lead lap. So I wonder who'll duck into the pits during this safety car period. So the leaders will make their way round. And then they all have to adhere to the safety car delta. So Chris needs to make sure he does not exceed that. Otherwise it will be a drive-through penalty. So Podge and the Carlin. And Podge decides to stay out. Which is no surprise. Rosie's coming in though. Hartnell deciding to duck into the pits. Is anyone else coming in? Malky decides not to, so just 3 drivers coming into the pits at the end of the lap. I think Rosie needed to change her front wing as well, so she's lost a couple of positions because of it. So Chris has just gone past the safety car, so the leader's caught up to it now. So Podge leads ahead of Ramsell and Pimis. Cookie's next behind, then it's Wild Dog, Swanshanks, Terade, Red Devil, Scott and Dust. That's Cookie. And Chris has been penalised for track limit. It's a very silly penalty to get under safety car. I don't understand why drivers get track limit penalties under the safety car period, to be honest with you. Chris to catch up to the rest of the field. I think the safety car is only going to remain out there for one more lap after this one. So we're on lap 6 of this race. Green Pies' premature exit from the sprints has contributed to the safety car. 3 drivers have been in the pits under it. Jay Hartnell, Winfield and Rosie. And Chris will be determined to catch up to the rest of the field. Now, will the safety car go in at the end of this lap, or will it decide to stay out for another lap and allow the MP Motorsport car to catch up? Well, the lights are still on, so I'd imagine it could well be staying out there for one more lap. So the safety car remains out there. Could this prompt a few drivers into the pit lane? Perhaps, well, Dust is doing that. He thinks it's worth the gamble. So the safety car will be going in at the end of this lap, whatever happens. So Dust will rejoin ahead of Chris. And Malky gets a penalty for ignoring the yellow flags, which is strange because Johnny Hartnell was behind him anyway. I think Malky may dispute that afterwards. So Podge will be looking to fend off Ramsell behind. It's going to be hard for him to do so in the final 4 laps. There you go, confirmation from race control that the safety car is going in at the end of this lap. So Podge will pull clear when he is ready to do so. He needs to leave the safety car some space before he decides to make a lunge. Ramsell needs to be careful not to make contact though. So the safety car is coming in now. And Podge is away. Very good restart, in fact. Ramsell nearly losing it over the curve there. Oh, I'll tell you, one driver's lost it. It's Wild Dog. And he's spun into the barrier. And he's out of the race. So Wild Dog pushing way too hard on the exit. And his race has come to an end. So Podge still leading. Ramsell not too far behind, and Pimis waiting to have a go on the high tech. So as we watch the leaders make their way down the back straight, Pimis in third place, already has a podium this evening. Could he make it 2 from 2 tonight? So Ramsell will want this victory here to keep his slim chances in the championship alive. There's no DRS for the first 2 laps of the restart. We've done 1 lap of it already. Not far away from this race being done now, as we watch the high-tech of Scott make a move on Scouse Cookie, or at least defending him. He stays in 8th. There's Hartnell off the track. That's a damaged front wing to his car. And that'll be him falling down the order. And he needs to make sure he stays on track as well. I don't know who he's had it coming together with, but that's not a good sign for him. And Ramsell's taking the lead from Podge now. So Ramsell into the lead of the sprint race with 3 laps remaining. Podge's resistance has finally been broken. It could well be second place for him by the end of this one. And, oh, someone's gone off. It's Chris, who's crashed into the barrier. I don't know how on earth he's gone that far off the track, but his race has come to an end. That's a really strange place to be having an accident. So Chris becomes the 3rd driver to leave this race. And Swanshanks has had an incident as well. He's dropped down a few positions in an instant. So we're going on to the penultimate lap shortly. Podge needs to try and stay within DRS range to have at least a chance of going for the victory. And it looks like Dust is falling down a few positions, or Winfield anyway. And Swanshanks is just letting cars through at the moment. Don't know if he's got damage to his machine. He probably has done. So all this has promoted Winfield, Dust and Rosie through. Rosie to the inside of her teammate. She gets through. And now we watch Scott get in front of the dams of Devil. Scouse Cookie not too far behind. Oh, he's gone for a spin. That's him into the barrier as well. That's just front wing damage though. He stays out of everyone's way. So that's another driver falling down the order. I think some of these are getting a bit carried away now with the way they're going through some of the corners. And there's a tasty battle for 6th place here, because we can see Devil is on old mediums, but Winfield, Rosie and Dust on the fresher soft compound. Now, Devil will have the DRS as he was within a second of Scott at the detection point. Winfield will be alongside him, though. And Winfield should move up to 6th place because he's going to have more grip than the dams. There we go, look. Rosie making contact with the dams. Ramsell posted a new fastest up as we are entering the last lap of this race now. And Devil's continuing to go backwards here. Rosie should get past. In fact, Devil's fighting back on Winfield as they come towards turn 1. And it looks like... oh, there's contact made! Rosie is off the track. Surely she's got damage. She has. So there's been a coming together between those drivers. And Devil's back through to 6th place again. Winfield's fallen down the order as well. He's also got damage to his Prema. There's going to be plenty of talk in the steward's room afterwards. Scouse Cookie's coming to the pits to retire. Pimis may have a chance of 2nd here from Podge. He's fending for his life at the moment. So can Pimis get Podge on the back straight? It's going to be his last chance to make a move. That's a really poor entry into 13, to be quite honest with you. So he's going to be way too far back to have a go from there now. Rear wing open. No, he's too far back to do it from there, so he'll have to settle for third place once again this evening. So here's Ramsell, who's going to make it 2 wins from 2 tonight at win number 4 of the championship. Ramsell enters the pit straight. He wins the sprint race. It's 2 from 2 this evening. Podge comes through to finish second ahead of Pimis. So Pimis gets his second top 3 finish of tonight. Cookie comes home 4th, even with the time penalty, ahead of Scott in 5th. Red Devil will fall down the order, as will Swanshanks, so Dust should be 6th. Terade 7th, Rosie 8th. Swanshanks will be 9th, Devil 10th. Winfield 7th, ahead of Malky. And it's Jay Hartnell who's the last of the finishers. But Ramsell wins once again in China. So your final race result in the sprint race sees Ramsell as the winner once again. Podge 2nd ahead of Pimis and Cookie in 4th. Scott 5th ahead of Eat My Dust, with Terade, Rosie, Swanshanks and Winfield rounding out the top 10. Devil was 11th, followed by Malky and Jay Hartnell, who was the rest of the finishers. Scouse Cookie retired with a couple of laps remaining, but he was still classified. Chris retired, as did Wild Dog and Green Pies, who will not get the points for the fastest lap. So Ramsell's points total for this evening takes him up a few more. Well, gives him a few more points. He moves on to what I believe now is 166. So he's closing right in the battle for second in the championship, which is good news for him. But Don Argent is still out in front, a long way ahead of everyone else. He's more than a full round of points ahead of everyone else, in case you are wondering. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. The next round will be in Portugal, in Portimao, in a week's time, so do make sure you tune in for them. Same time next week, 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 13th of October. I'm Sam Cairns, and I'll speak to you again soon when the Formula Racing League returns.